what we want to do is open up our wire packaging. And I always feel like there's such a waste on here, because when you get it, you have to unwrap this. And this is why I'm glad they don't send sterling silver pretty much wrapped like that, because you have all this waste. So you're going to want to cut off these two ends because they're junk. And I'm going to cut these two opposites, see if I can show you the difference. So this one here is cut with the flush cut. So you can see it's perfectly straight. I can rub my finger on that. It's perfect. This one here, you might be able to see the difference now between the purple and then you see that bright silver right there. That is that pointed tip that's sticking out, and this is very sharp. Now, to determine which edge you're going to get when you cut on your wire, we'll go and we'll cut off this rough one. If your flush edge is against the wire, it's going to cut a flush cut. Now you want to make sure that you keep your flush cutters perpendicular to your wire to get a straight edge, because if you cut it at an angle, obviously you're going to get an angled cut. So if I take this and cut right there, I'm going to get that beautiful flush cut again. Okay, so now that we have our flush cut, I'm going to move these out of the way because we don't need these right now. I will show you how to use the hand tool, and then we'll do the power drill. So for the hand tool, you want to start and hold your tool perpendicular to your work surface, and then hold your wire to the side. You're going to open it up, put a little bit in, and clamp down. And you're going to start towards the edge here of your size that you're doing. So right now I'm doing the small size. Actually, we'll do the large size so it's easier for you guys to see. So I'll go right to the edge of the big one, and I'm going to turn my hand. Release, put it back up straight, turn my hand, release, straight, turn. And then make sure you're also using your hand to align this. Now when you do it this way, you could just keep going and going and going and going. Okay? So you can see here I now have this loop, this coil of rings. So I could just keep doing that coil as long as I want it, as long as I keep working in that space. When the coils go off, it doesn't matter. They'll stay formed right like they are. So right now it doesn't matter, I'm just going to clip it to get it off. And there's that. And you can see the size is a bit different from this one because these two sizes, they're not identical. So this one is going to be a little bit bigger. Okay. Your other option is to wind the coils using the power drill. So you're going to insert this piece into the drill bit. Take the wire, and there's a hole that goes through, so I'm going to insert it into the hole. Now I do want to be careful here because this edge, whether you've cut it a flush cut or not, can catch you when this goes around. So you want to just kind of do it a little slow, see which way you're going there, and start it off. Now you just kind of keep guiding it with your hand. Let's see, I kind of got over there. So this one, the process is a little bit slower. There we go. This process is can be a little bit slower. I mean, you can zoom through and go fast, but then you might kind of get these awkward ones that aren't quite even. So I kind of like to take my time and go slow. But this is much easier on your wrist and your hand than doing them by hand. That repetitive motion can get really tiring and straining on your wrist. Okay, so I'm going to cut this off. Now, you'll see here that we've got a little wrapped part that's sticking inside. So I'm going to take my cutters and just go in here and snip, and that little piece will come out there, and I can slide this off. Alright, so now I have 2 coils. I actually think, yeah, sorry, the coil sizes I use on this one are here and here. This one will make the more jumbo size, which this drill bit cannot make. So the sizes I use on this one, to get this size that we just got on the largest size, on that one is the middle one. The small jump ring is the small one, and then you'll get the jumbo size on this one if you use this hand tool. Alright, so now we have our coils. I used the big one as a sample to show you because it'll probably be easier for you to see. So we want to make a flush cut to start ourselves off. So you'll notice on both of these there's the spot where it's nice and curved, then it goes straight. Nice and curved, then it goes straight. You want to make sure you cut past that straight part when you do your first cut, because you don't want your rings or your loops to be misshapen. So flush side against the side I want the flush cut on. So we're going to go past the straight. I'm holding it perpendicular. And you want to make sure that you're watching where the tips of your pliers are going, because you don't want to cut and go, okay, well I'm going to cut all these now. You don't want to do that. You do them one at a time. So you just do a cut like that. Then we have our flush cut. Then I want to complete the loop, so I have to flip the plier so that my next edge will be flush. That way, when I close this ring, it will close perfectly with those flush cuts. Let me do this next one without a flush cut. So let me make that a sharp one, and I'll make this a sharp one. So you don't want to do it this way, and you'll see why right here. Okay. Now can you see this comes around, divots in and divots in on both sides of that center, compared to this flush one, which is a perfectly formed ring. That is why you want a flush cutter, and that is why you want to make sure you're watching which is your flush edges, because this is going to make this very difficult. When you put your bead over the middle of that, that bead is pretty small, so it might go over the edge and you might see some of that rough edge. It's going to have a harder time adhering onto that versus that perfectly formed circle. Okay, so we'll cut a couple more on here to show you the right way again. So I made that rough edge, so I got to make it flush again, so flat flush, and if you forget, just feel that flat flush side, and that's where you want to cut here. And it's a good idea when you're first doing this, or anytime you do it, I guess, really, to wear glasses or something like that, because these little flecks of metal can come flying off at you sometimes, and you don't want to get a piece of metal in your eye. Okay, so I flipped the plier, flush cutting now on the other side to complete my loop, so I have another flush cut loop. Okay, same thing, and now this is what happens when you come down to the end. Now that side is rough. I want to make it flush. Flip the plier around, cut the other side flush. Okay, and there's our junk. Alright, now we have that beautiful formed ring again. Isn't that nice? Okay. So, once you have your rings cut, usually what I'll do, because I make a lot of them, is I'll wind all of my yarn one day. All of my wire. I'll wind all the wire one day, and then over the next few days I'll go ahead and I'll cut them all. And then I'll just kind of glue them as I need them. So I have like this tackle box full of stitch markers ready to be glued together. Okay. Now, this is another important thing. I see people do this wrong a lot when I teach jewelry classes. Is the correct way to open a jump ring. So, a lot of people, and this is our icky one, so I'll show it on this one, when they go to open a jump ring, they pull apart. And they just pull it open. Now you might think, well, what's so wrong with that? I'm opening and closing the jump ring. Well, when I've pulled that open, I've now made this into like an oval. I'm almost working on a horseshoe here, depending on how hard I pull this. So when I push it back together, I might not have it perfectly round. Like I can kind of see it's a little bit malformed already. I can notice if I tap on the side, it goes kind of funky. I can see the shadowing. It probably doesn't come through on the camera, but I can tell I've warped it. And it's not really a true circle anymore. But it depends. Some people will really pull it far and not realize how soft the metal actually is at this point. And then when they put it back again, now you can kind of see a little bit more. It's starting to go a little ovally. You can see it kind of sticks out more here than it does there. See, you can see it sticking out more. So, correct way to open and close a jump ring is twist and twist close. Twist, twist close. So all that's doing is it's just like a hinge on a door. It's open, close, okay? So that is the correct way to open and close a jump ring. So I get all of my, actually let me put that back in. I get all of my jump rings prepped before I open the glue. And now I can't get the glue back closed. Okay. So I would prep all of my jump rings. I would go, I'd open everyone up. Then I would go and I'd put my beads on everybody, close them back up. And a little trick, if you find you're closing it and it's not lining up, is twist a little bit past and then go back and kind of wiggle. And then you'll get that perfect lineup. So I would get everybody I'm doing all set like that. Then I would do the glue, and I usually wear gloves when I do the glue because I'm doing a lot of them at a time and I don't want to get my hands all sticky and everything. But if you're just doing a few, you don't really need to worry about it. Just watch where you're putting your glue, and a little bit goes a long way. So you can see the glue's coming out there. I'm just going to put a little tiny dot of it and then move the bead right over the top. Now you'll see there's a little drop of the glue. Let me put this cap back on this one. So all the glue, because the glue will just keep coming out. So when you're done using it, when you're done doing all of your stitch markers, make sure you put your cap back on. Okay, so there's a little tiny bead of that glue that's sticking out there. Just leave it for now. The glue will shrink up and dry clear. So I would let these sit overnight and then come back tomorrow, and if you see anything that looks like it's still there, this dries kind of a little bit like a rubbery substance or texture, so you can just boop, pull that little piece right off. And you'll be perfectly fine if any sits there, because once in a while you'll find a little bit more glue comes out than you plan. It's okay, just leave it. Once it's dry the next day, you can go ahead and clean it up. So that is how you make these snag-free stitch markers. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please feel free to come over to my website, which is cattailknits.com. You can check out our blog and our podcast and our online store. Have a great day. Go knit yourself some happy.